Today on Canadian Wrench, we're working on Big Red. Remember this thing? Rescued it, only had 138,000 or something like that. I put a couple thousand K on it, and I rechecked the front end, and I noticed there's a little bit of play in this ball joint. So we're gonna change that today. So, first thing I'm gonna do is pull this wheel off. I borrowed something that I wanna try out. It's one of these Milwaukee fuel guns, 1/2-inch drive. I got my socket on there, and first I gotta take this cover off, but I gotta take the wheel off as well. I'm gonna check this thing out. So far, this thing is awesome. Zip those nuts off like you wouldn't believe. I think the torque on these is 140 foot-pounds, maybe 160. So the fact that it works like nothing, just amazing. Love it. All right, so here we are at the ball joint, upper ball joint. You can see I got lots of grease, mist with lots of grease, and got lots of grease in it. Anyway, I can tell you right now that looking at this nut, which is on the bottom of the ball joint, we're gonna have to take that hose out of the way. And it also brackets, it's one of the hold down bolts, or hold in bolts for the ball joint. So we'll take that guy out. I had to set it out because I haven't had these lines on long. But what we'll do is we'll take the caliper, take it off. We might as well clean everything up here anyway, make sure it's nice and smooth. And that means we're going to do the other side as well. But let's concentrate on this ball joint. So we'll undo those bolts. We're going to put a jack underneath the spindle here. We will go under the lower control arm, and that way we can control the height of this. So I took that bolt out. That's what held that bracket on for the flex line. Hook the caliper, it's hanging on a metal hook here and on the frame. So that's out of the way, and it's nicely out of the way. So I can undo this nut. Now I needed a great big long ratchet for that, and it was tight. I couldn't get the cotter pin out. So now I'm just shearing it off, and it's gonna get in the threads and ruin them on the old used ball joint. So who cares? We're putting a new ball joint in there. All right, so onward. All right, this nut is I think 1.1 inch, or it was for me anyway. That's castle nut. You can all see why. That's where the cotter pin lays. One of those grooves makes it easy to line up. All right, so we got that out. This control arm is not under spring tension. This one is. There's your spring, and it's pushing down. So you go taking that nut off, you better have something underneath it. Keep that in mind. Now, I'll get a ball joint separator, put it in between there. You can separate that, then we can undo it from the control arm. All right, so we took these bolts out. It was, bolt went through this way. You won't be able to get that out of there easily without turning it. So you gotta turn it somewhere. So when you're putting it back in, just remember that. I still have to separate it from the control arm. I just pop those bolts out, and then that sprung forward a bit. There's no tension on anything here, so that's a good, safe way to do it. All right, next, pickle fork or ball joint separator in here. All right, finally got the ball joint loose. So there's the pickle fork. I never ate pickles with one of them, but anyway, there it is out. Ball joint, well worn. So I started off with that hammer hammering on that pickle fork, and then that bigger hammer, and then with this hammer here. It's a 10-pound sledgehammer on a short handle. It means business, and ball joint listened. So we'll just look down this taper, make sure there's no damage. Probably put a little bit of oil or like penetrant or something like that. We'll also make sure that this surface under here is clean to accept the new ball joint, which is right here. with AC Delco again. Made in China. Well, what are you gonna do? All right, let's get this sucker back together. All right, here's the two ball joints, new versus old. I pulled this cup ahead, and you can see what I would say is the end of this ball joint, why it wore out. I couldn't get this thing to take grease at first. I took it for a drive, and then it would take grease, but this ball here should be like this, nice and shiny and smooth, and all it is pits and rust in here. So I think that's what killed this guy. I'm happy to change it. Go back over here, cleaned all the grease off here, and there is this hole here is tapered, so it's fatter at one end, skinnier at the other end. That way you can't put the ball joint in wrong. Oh, wait a minute. I have seen people put the ball joint, it's supposed to go from underneath on top. So I guess you can put it on wrong in some cases. Make sure you put it back where it belongs. It goes underneath. All right. So I got the ball joint in place, going from underneath. Put the 3 bolts through. The 4th one is just sitting there because the brake line goes there. So, and it goes the opposite way. So I just sprayed a little oil on that. Now I'm gonna push this in, lift that control arm just a little bit, nicely put that tapered shaft right into that hole. We'll get the pry bar, put it underneath here, lift this up a bit, pick up this spindle, that boot falling down. With your knee, push on one side and your hand the other. And there it's in. Now you can get your pry bar again, hook it under something here, and pry down on that control arm. And put this nut on. Fire 2. With a longer, meaner pry bar. Try this again. So yeah, I can definitely pry down there and keep tension on that. That's what I want to make sure. For now, we're going to lift it up. So we'll use that little pry bar again, and we'll do the same process again. Dust boot it on there. In place. That's the way it's supposed to be done. Put the nut on. And then I can get my wrench and tighten it up. All right, let's not forget the cotter pin. And hopefully it's lined up. Well, I know it is because I looked. And that goes through there. Now, I like to seat that all the way in. I bend one all the way over, and the other one I push up towards the control arm, obviously on the other side. So, I'll do that. Then we'll put this caliper back on. I just cleaned up these areas here where the caliper meets the bracket there. The rotor looks fantastic. And if you were ever trying to get the bearing cap off. There's a hole there. That's for that. You get a screwdriver in there and pop that cap off. Good tip. All right, let's get that caliper back in place. All right, caliper's all tightened up. I tightened up those two Allen key, 3/8 Allen key bolts, the sliders actually, and I put grease in the ball joint, and now we can put the wheel on. Finally, we'll just torque the wheels. Perfect. And finally, we'll put this cover on and just torque these up with by hand with a socket. That's all I ever do. And just have firm grip, and that's it. That's it. Make sure that they're all tight. Beautiful. As for this thing, I think it's awesome. It's got a little bit of weight to it, but not too much. It's got all the torque you want. It's got torque settings on it down here, right here. Has a battery reminder, tells you how much battery life you have. Like, this thing is great. Now, it's not the first time I've ever used one of these. I've also used 3/8 and the die grinder. Stuff is awesome. Anyway, that's not sponsored, just my opinion on this stuff. All right, so we're all done. What are we at now? 140,600. So yeah, really racking up the kilometers on this thing. Anyway, hope you liked the video. Hope it helped somebody out. Like, share, subscribe.